welcome back friends. Good afternoon. So in this video we are going to see about respiration. So what do I mean by respiration? So respiration is the process by which the living organisms produce energy from the food they are taking. So that is called as respiration. Simply what? The food we are taking will be digested in our small intestine completely. After complete digestion, what will happen? The nutrients will be absorbed by our blood capillaries. Through the blood capillaries, it will be passing through all the parts of the body and all the parts of the tissues and cells, where they will be utilized for the energy production. So this is called as respiration. The food will go inside and it will be converted into energy for the process of cellular activities and metabolism. That is called as respiration. So looking into respiration, there are two types of respiration. So one is called as aerobic respiration, another is called as anaerobic respiration. What do you mean by aerobic? In the name you can see air means what? Air, oxygen. With the presence of oxygen, okay? With the presence of oxygen, this humans, for example, humans will be performing this aerobic respiration. In the presence of oxygen, the food materials which we are taking will be converted into energy molecule. So that process is called as aerobic respiration. In the process called as aerobic respiration because here oxygen is utilized for the production of energy. In the another case, if you see, it is called as anaerobic respiration. What by anaerobic? Anaerobic means what? Without oxygen. So in the absence of oxygen, some organisms will be producing energy from the food they are taking. That is called as anaerobic respiration. For example, yeast we can say. So yeast, what will happen? Fermentation will be taking place. So fermentation, the process of fermentation, this yeast will be utilizing the food materials, nutrients, and they will be converting them into the energy molecules in the absence of oxygen. Oxygen is not utilized there. So it is called as anaerobic reaction, anaerobic respiration. So these are the two categories of respiration. Now coming into here, you can see three types it will be taking place. For example, I said right, so in the last session we have seen about what? Nutrition. So autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition. So in the heterotrophic means humans will be coming under heterotrophic nutrition because we are depending on other organisms for the food. So after taking the food through the oral cavity, through esophagus, stomach, small intestine, that partial digestion will be happening in stomach and then complete digestion taking place in small intestine. So after the digestion, for example, if you are taking rice, rice consists of what? Starch. So the starch will be degraded into maltose in the mouth, and after entering into the stomach and small intestine, the maltose disaccharides will be converted into monosaccharides. Monosaccharides means what? Simple sugars like glucose. Okay, so glucose, fructose are called as what? Simple sugars. So this simple sugars, this glucose will be utilized by your body. How? Through the blood capillaries. From the small intestine, the blood capillaries will absorb the nutrients. Likewise, this glucose also will be absorbed by the capillaries, and through the blood it will be transported to all parts of the cells, to all the cells. So a cell consists of what? Imagine. So cell membrane will be there. Inside will be having what? Cytoplasm. And cytoplasm, and you will be having what? So nucleus. So this is nucleus and this is the overall cell and this is the cell membrane, and this region is called as what? Cytoplasm. So cytoplasm and nucleus is there. Then what happens? Through the blood channel, through the blood, what will happen? The glucose, the food we are taking, right, from that food, the glucose will be taken. For example, single cell I am doing. For all the cells, a similar thing will be happening. So the glucose will be supplied. So glucose will be supplied to the all cells. So where it will enter? To the plasma membrane, through the cell membrane, the glucose will be entering into the cytoplasm of the cell. So in cytoplasm, what will happen to the glucose? So glucose is made up of how many carbons? 6 carbons. So after entering here, what will happen? Those things only I have given here. Okay, you can see here, glucose is here 6 carbon molecule. As you all know, it will be C6, H12 and O6. Totally 6 carbons will be there. Now what happens? This glucose will be entering into the cytoplasm of the cell. In cytoplasm, what happens? it will be converted into pyruvate. So this glucose molecule will be converted into pyruvate. Pyruvate is a 3-carbon molecule. Here it is a 6-carbon. So this glucose will be broken down into 2 actually. So 2 individual molecules, they are called as what? Pyruvate. So 2 pyruvate molecules will be produced by the breakdown of the glucose. So we will get 3 carbon molecules. 3 plus 3 is 6. So totally 2 pyruvate will be produced in the cytoplasm. So glucose will be entering into the cytoplasm. So again what will happen? This will be producing pyruvate plus pyruvate. So this process is called as glycolysis. So through glycolysis, what's happening here? The glucose will be broken down into pyruvate. So this happens in cytoplasm. Now what happens? So 3 categories are there. First we will take in the absence of oxygen. So in case of yeast, if you see, so yeast, what will happen? In the absence of oxygen, respiration is taking place. So yeast in the cytoplasm, imagine this as yeast for example. In yeast what will happen now? So yeast is what is a fungi actually. So fungi consists of what? Nucleus will be there, cell wall will be there, cell membrane will be there. So after entering into the cytoplasm of the yeast, what's going to happen here? In the absence of oxygen, oxygen is absent there. So this pyruvate will be converted into ethanol plus carbon dioxide plus energy. You can see here. So this is a 2-carbon molecule, and here 1 carbon is released, right? 1 carbon dioxide. Totally 3 carbons. Likewise, 2 ethanol and 2 carbons will be going outside. So totally 6 will be there. Okay. So here it is 3 carbon molecule, right? So you will be having 3 carbons. So here it is a 2 carbon molecule. Here 1 carbon. Totally 3 carbons will be split out. They will be going out. Okay. So these are all the products of the anaerobic respiration in yeast. So yeast, what they will produce in the cytoplasm? They will be producing this ethanol. Ethanol will be produced. Next what happens? Carbon dioxide will be produced, and as a result energy also will be released. So all these processes will be taking place in the cytoplasm of the cell. Okay, it will not enter into the nucleus or mitochondria, anywhere it will not enter, only in the cytoplasm of the cell. All these things will be happening in the absence of oxygen. For example, if you say, or you know about beer, wine or there, okay, with the grape juice we can prepare wine. So in that case what happens? The ethanol will be produced, that is alcohol. Ethanol is a alcohol. So this alcohol will be produced by the yeast in the grape juice. That is why the alcohol content will be slowly increased in the grape juice when you keep for more days when incubated with this yeast organism. So they will produce what? Carbon dioxide also. As a result of production of carbon dioxide only, many bubbles will be formed in the grape juice when you keep for more, on the 1 week or 10 days if you keep the grape juice. So you will get some bubbles will be there. Those bubbles are carbon dioxide. So this happens in yeast. So in fermentation companies, they will be using the yeast organism for the production of these beverages. Okay. So the next, if you see here, the pyruvate will be converted into lactic acid. Where it happens? In human beings, in muscle cells, especially in muscle cells. What happens? This anaerobic respiration takes place. When it will happen? So during, when you are using your muscles, too much of usage of the muscles, or suppose if you are giving too much of strain, suppose you are carrying so much weight object in your hand, now you are giving strain to your muscles. During giving the strains, or simply you are keeping your hands and legs like this for more than 1 hour or 2 hours without movement, what will happen? The muscles will be some problems. Oxygen, blood supply will be affected. So blood will not be going sufficiently to your muscle cells. For the sports person like athletes, what will happen? They will be running fastly. So what will happen? Dehydration will occur. They will be using their muscles more. In that case, what happens? The inadequate blood supply. Through blood only, oxygen will be transported to all parts of the cell. So in this case, what happens? In muscle cells, during exercises or during the athletic activities or too much of usage of muscles, the blood supply will be very less. So inadequate blood supply. As a result, inadequate oxygen supply. So in the lack of oxygen, so oxygen will be very less. In the lack of oxygen, what will happen? In the same case, glucose will be entering into the cytoplasm. It will be converted into pyruvate. But this has to be again enter into the mitochondria for the aerobic process. I'll be telling you again. Okay. So here what happens, in the absence of oxygen, this pyruvate will be accumulated in the cytoplasm. As a result, what happens, the cell has to produce energy. So what will happen? So it will switch from this aerobic to anaerobic respiration. As a result, in the absence of oxygen, it will go for the conversion of the pyruvate. So the pyruvate which is present in the cytoplasm will be converted into lactic acid, which is a 3-carbon molecule, plus energy molecule will be produced. Okay. So this is in the case of muscle cells. Okay. Now next, if you are coming to the aerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, what happens in humans? You can see here this pyruvate. Here you can see in the cytoplasm pyruvate is there. So again I can show you here. Imagine this as the mitochondria is here. So mitochondria, what happens? The conversion will be happening in the cytoplasm pyruvates. This pyruvate will enter into the mitochondria. So inside mitochondria, what will happen? With the presence of oxygen, this pyruvate will be converted. Okay, what will be into carbon dioxide, water and energy. So this process takes place in the presence of oxygen inside mitochondria. So only this is called as what? Aerobic respiration. So throughout our body, on all the cells, this aerobic respiration will be taking place. So here in mitochondria only energy production will be there. So only they are called as powerhouse of the cell. Why it is called as powerhouse? Because the glucose which we are taking through the food will be entering into cytoplasm and converted into pyruvate. This pyruvate will be entering into the mitochondria. In mitochondria, in the presence of oxygen, it will be converting into energy molecule. Okay, so only it is called as what? Powerhouse of the cell. So this is aerobic respiration. Now what happens, you can see here, this energy which is produced as the breakdown of the glucose will be used for the production of ATP. So it is the end product of the respiration. Okay, ATP is the energy molecule. We can say it as energy currency of the cell. Okay, what is the energy currency? What is the currency actually? The currency only we can get all the requirements which we are need. Okay, similarly here also with this ATP only all the activities of the cells will be performed. So we need ATP. From where it will be produced? As a result of this respiration process, you will get the energy. With the help of that energy, we will get ATP. ATP means what? Adenosine triphosphate. Okay. So this adenosine triphosphate, where it will come from? You can see here ADP. So this is a nucleotide. Actually it is a nitrogen base, adenosine diphosphate. Okay, di means what? 2 phosphates will be there. So another one phosphate, inorganic phosphate. So inorganic phosphate will attach to this adenosine diphosphate. Now what happens? This diphosphate will become triphosphate. You can see here between this phosphate and this phosphate, a bond will be formed. So this di will be converted into tri. So adenosine triphosphate. So this is the energy molecule of the cell. Okay, energy currency of the cell. So where this will be used? It will be used in the endothermic processes which is happening in all our cells. Okay. So for all the metabolic processes, biochemical process, for the production of proteins, for our activities, whatever activities we are doing daily, well, like shaking our hands, speaking, talking, running, for everything we need energy. So for that, as well as inside the cell, many metabolic reactions are taking place. For all those purposes, this ATP only provides energy. How they will provide energy? It is adenosine triphosphate. Now what happens? 3 phosphates are there. In that, the last phosphate will be moving outside. So what will happen? The bond between these two will break down. ATP is there. So if the last phosphate removes outside, this bond will be broken down. As a result of the breaking down of the bond, say energy will be released. So that energy will be used for all our energy metabolisms which is taking place in our body. So how much it will be equal to? You can see here. the single molecule of the breaking down is happening now, so that will be producing the energy that is equivalent to 30.5 kilojoules per molecule. This amount of energy will be released by the ATP molecules. So now you see, in the overall process, in all the cases energy is produced. So in the case of anaerobic process, only 2 ATPs are produced. In the yeast molecule, I said, right, in the anaerobic process only 2 ATPs, as in the muscle cells also, in the absence of oxygen. So there also only 2 ATP molecules will be produced as a result of single the respiration process. Whereas here, if you see in mitochondria, what happens? Aerobic respiration. As a result of aerobic respiration, you will be getting 38 ATP molecules. You can see here, in anaerobic respiration, this very small amount of energy is produced. Whereas in here, mitochondria, this aerobic respiration produces huge amount of energy molecules, that is 38 ATP molecules in this respiration process. The main another difference, if you see, in anaerobic process, that is very quick actually. In producing energy, it acts as very quickly. So quickly it produces 2 ATP molecules. Whereas this 88 ATP molecules, it will take little bit time. Okay. So comparing anaerobic and aerobic, aerobic will be slow process, anaerobic will be faster process. And comparing the production level, if you see, anaerobic produces very little amount of energy, aerobic produces huge amount of energy. So that is why in this case what happens? In muscle cells, in the absence of lack of oxygen, our cells need to produce energy very quickly, because we are doing muscle is running means it needs energy. So for the production of energy, suddenly it will switch from the aerobic to anaerobic process. So it will be producing 2 ATP molecules for production of the energy. That is why happening there. So it results in muscle cramps. Okay. In this case, what happens? It results in muscle cramps. Okay. So this is the overall view of this respiration process. So for respiration, what is the essential thing in human beings? Oxygen. From where this oxygen will come from? So you all know, through breathing. Okay, through breathing what will happen? What is the difference between breathing and respiration? So breathing means inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling of oxygen, exhaling of what? Carbon dioxide. So this process is taking place through our nostrils, and it will be taking place, or exchange will be taking place in the lungs. Okay, this inhaling, exhaling is called as breathing, whereas respiration is the oxygen which is taken by the breathing will be utilized for the production of energy with the help of food, is called as respiration. That is the major difference. In the upcoming session, we will be seeing about respiratory system, how it works. Okay, thank you friends, thank you for watching this video.